Hello everyone, I am back once again to continue to spread the positive vibes I have been emitting from the past couple of videos I've posted here on my channel. And since this next video is going to be on a video game that I've held very close to my heart for years, it has unfortunately been more or less been forgotten. That game of course is Titanfall. Re-Spawn Entertainment's lost and forgotten child. Back in the day when Titanfall was fresh and new, it had some, if not most, gamers who were into first-person shooters raving. For people like me, it was love at first sight, and I mean, just look at it. You got yourself a classic Call of Duty formula, but with jetpacks. In fact, I'm pretty sure Titanfall was the first ever first-person shooter game to introduce jetpacks and double jumps, and on top of that, giant freaking robots that you can pilot and use to turn the tide of a match. So I guess my question is, who wouldn't love that? So before we get into this, I just want to clarify which Titanfall I'll be talking about. I tried my absolute best to get into a match on the first game, but Titanfall 1 is literally abandoned at this point. It's next to impossible for me to get into a game. The longest I waited for was just over half an hour, which is why I decided that this video will be solely focused on its sequel, Titanfall 2. However, I need to acknowledge and respect the first game real quick. So as I already mentioned before, Titanfall was a new take on the first-person shooter genre, introducing uniquely fast gameplay with extreme mobility, including wall running and boosters. The formula for the structure of the game was fairly simple. You go in, you get kills, you earn points, and then you get more kills, and then you've earned your Titan. Then it's literally just rinse and repeat. With the multiplayer being a hit, there wasn't so much of a campaign with only 3 Titans and a total of 10 guns. Something needed to be done. Respawn then took this opportunity to take the game and all the feedback it's received and spawn in a sequel. So let's go through why I think Titanfall 2 is still fun to play to this day. I'm not just going to talk about the multiplayer, the campaign is a big part of why I adore this game. So without further ado, let's begin. I like how at the start of the campaign we get this pretty neat opening cinematic which gives us a look at how pilots operate and dominate the battlefield, and it's all being told by the main character who we'll be playing as, called Jack Cooper. Not only that, but we get an extended look into the lore of the universe and the two factions that are constantly at war with each other, the militia and the IMC. So when you first start the actual game, it gives you a tutorial that I think they incorporated really well. The reason being is that unlike its predecessor, the tutorial doesn't feel random or lifeless. It's got some stunning visuals, and if you stop and listen to what's been said, you get to learn more about the backstory of the place the militia call home. And I just thought it was a pretty cool thing they added in. Where I feel as if the campaign really gets things going is the overall setup at the start. I really like the idea of how the story is being told from Cooper's point of view, and it's mentioned several times that he's just a military grunt / underdog, and even though we don't really go into depth about that aspect of his status and what it's like being a grunt, we do get to see his progression from being a grunt to a fully fledged pilot within an hour, give or take. Titanfall 2 was definitely a step in the right direction, since it feels almost like an expansion of the Titanfall universe, with new places to explore, new faces we encounter, and new threats. The story does a great job introducing it all, from turning the lifeless Titans from the first game into a fully functional AI Titan you can interact with. It just goes to prove that Respawn Entertainment has actually taken the time to make things a lot more interesting. The gameplay feels almost unreal. To put into words, you get to feel like you're some sort of super hybrid soldier. At times you get to really feel how powerful and agile you are as a pilot jumping from building to building, and there's something about that that's extremely satisfying. Even something as trivial as punching the enemy feels like you shattered all the bones in your opponent's body, and that applies with both the multiplayer and the single player campaign. The pilot takedowns are brutal, the Titan kills are ferocious, even stealth kills have their moments, and you just feel practically unstoppable. Dialogue options are some of the highlights of the campaign when we get to see moments with BT and Cooper and how their bond starts to solidify. I like how the range of dialogue options can be either snarky or humble, so it adds some charm to Cooper and it gives us the choice to choose what kind of version of Cooper we want him to be, even though it doesn't necessarily impact the story of what dialogue options you pick. Along with the dialogue, the characters are quite fun and interesting. I ironically took more of an interest in the boss level bad guys, since they all seem to have some sort of predictable and also cartoonish trait. Of course, I didn't expect them to do much apart from fulfilling their sole purpose, which is to be in the boss, but they were still interesting nevertheless. While you're flying through the campaign, the game does throw a few challenges your way, such as different types of enemies, be it big or small, or just plain annoying. And there are some puzzles here and there which is different to anything I've seen in the previous games, so that's definitely something new and intriguing. They aren't too long and they aren't too short. I never felt as if it was slowing down my progress, and it seemed as if the game wanted to try something new, and instead of giving me stuff to shoot at, it tries to test my problem solving skills. And in my opinion, I feel that was a smart addition to the game. So finally, moving on to the multiplayer. Pilot versus pilot is probably my favorite game mode. It feels like I can really put my skills to the test against other players, and that's where I feel like the game thrives. The movement of the pilots can be really fast paced and exciting, and it's arguably better to fight as a pilot than it is to fight as a Titan. The reason being is that no matter how good you are as a pilot, you're no match for a Titan, let's be honest. However, just like in the previous game, there is a mechanic to taking down the Titans, but with all the vast amount of different defensive upgrades you can add to your Titan, taking one down is easier said than done. One thing I do have to give multiplayer credit for is for the more dynamic feel. Aside from the campaign where things go at your own pace, you don't get that luxury in the multiplayer. Multiplayer pushes you to play at your best, and that's how I feel every time I'm in a match against other players. The experience you gain is rewarding and the payoff is great. You get currency, you earn points and new weapons, you get to customize your look, etc, etc. The concept of Titanfall feels really rare and unique, and it's a shame how it's kind of died off in a way. There's a small number of players still in the game, and it desperately needs more players, because there's a chance that a third game could happen in the foreseeable future, but who knows. Titanfall 2 is entertaining, to say the least, and if you have the EA pass, it's free to play, so I highly suggest you give it a try. That's all I have to say about it. Thanks for listening, and hey, thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and share this video with all your friends, and I hope you guys have a really good Christmas. See ya!